One day, a woman looks in the mirror and quietly realizes it's no longer the lines on her face that have changed, but the meaning in her eyes. She used to want to look young. Now she wants to feel peaceful. She once dressed, spoke, and lived according to others' approval. Now she is learning to be elegant, even in her own silence. Because maturity is not about losing, but accepting. After a certain age, a woman no longer just wants to be seen. She wants to be felt. For her, elegance lies not in makeup, but in her posture. Beauty lies not in her skin, but in the warmth of her voice. And finally, she understands. True attractiveness lies not in hiding who she is, but in not being ashamed of it. As the years pass, a person's reflection in the mirror changes, but the light of their soul is always there. Now you know, beauty is not a chance, it is a choice. When you choose to be grateful instead of complaining, to pause and breathe instead of rushing, to love yourself instead of waiting to be loved, everything changes, because you must flow gracefully with time, not fight against it. There is wisdom in every place where life has refined you, and that wisdom carries a beauty deeper than any youthful sparkle could ever offer. And now write this in the comments. Grace is my choice. Write it because the moment you write it, you will feel like the owner of your life, not a victim. You may be broken, you may be tired, but you still choose grace. Because you are now a woman who walks with awareness, not anger, with confidence, not fear. As you write each letter, you will remember the promise you made to yourself. I am still here, still strong, and still beautiful. If you're ready, let's begin. 1. Stop complaining and be thankful for one small thing every day. Throughout her life, a woman wants many things to be perfect. She wants people to behave correctly, to be loved, to be understood, to be seen as she deserves. But as she gets older, she realizes that life is not entirely fair to anyone. Complaining makes the pain grow. Gratitude makes the wound heal. Because a person's energy is shaped by where they direct it. Complaining is staying chained to the past. Being thankful is walking freely toward the future. True elegance is not changing events, but changing your perspective. Being thankful is not always easy. Sometimes thanking life is as difficult as smiling in the midst of a battle. But it is precisely at that moment that it becomes clear. A strong woman is not one who finds a reason to be thankful when things are going well, but one who finds it even when everything is falling apart. Because she knows being thankful is not a surrender, but a claim. It is the quietest but most noble way of saying, "You did not break me." Every morning when she looks in the mirror, it's not the lines on her face that are noticeable, but the flutter of a grateful heart. A woman who complains slowly extinguishes her own light. Every word, every complaint echoes off the walls of her mind and eventually suffocates her own peace. But a woman who gives thanks changes her inner frequency. She no longer focuses on problems, but on solutions, not on what she lacks, but on what she has. And that awareness rejuvenates her more than any face cream, because beauty begins not only in the skin, but in the mind. The beauty of an older woman is the serenity that comes with maturity. She now knows happiness is not a result, but a choice. It's possible to get angry about hundreds of things during the day, but being thankful for one thing changes everything. A woman who is thankful becomes a quiet but determined force. Even when life hits her hard, she can say to herself, "I'm glad I'm still here." That sentence is the most noble grace that comes with age. A woman's inner light shines brighter as she gives thanks, because gratitude is how the heart reconnects. As you age, losses, heartbreaks, and disappointments may multiply around you, but as you give thanks, your heart doesn't shrink, it expands. Over time you realize youth is a phase, but gratitude is a lasting grace. The woman who gives thanks doesn't fight against time. She dances with it. Eventually, you will understand that complaining ages you, while gratitude purifies you. Because life writes not what happens to you, but how you look at it. The day you stop complaining and turn to gratitude, not only your soul but also your face will change. And from that moment on, you are no longer just a beautiful woman, but a wise woman. Because grace is the art of becoming more refined without breaking. By the way, if you like the video and subscribe to our channel, you will be supporting me in the most effective way. 2. Soften your tone of voice, but maintain determination in your words. As a woman matures, she understands. Voice is not just a means of communication, it is an energy field. Every tone you raise when angry tires you first. But a determined silence or a soft expression is just as powerful. You used to want people to hear your voice. Now, you want them to understand your message even through your silence, because a mature woman knows shouting doesn't prove you're right. Even with a soft voice, you can move mountains. Over time, you realize that when a woman controls her voice, she also controls her emotions. You choose to respond rather than react, to be mindful rather than angry. Speaking in a soft tone is not submission. It is the reflection of inner strength. This attitude silences people and commands respect, because true power lies in calmness. If you can establish authority without raising your voice, then you have reached the most mature form of elegance. A woman's voice is an echo of her life experiences. When young, your voice is hasty, impatient, and eager to prove itself. As you age, it deepens, slows down, and gains meaning. You now think before you speak and choose your words carefully. Each word becomes like a deliberate movement. When people listen to you, they pay attention not only to what you say, but also to how you say it. Because your voice has become the tone of your character. Speaking softly is not being passive. True elegance is being effective without raising your voice. The determination behind a glance, a posture, a word, that is where true respect comes from. You don't need to shout for people to take you seriously. Just maintain the calmness in your eyes. Because a calm woman maintains balance even in the stormiest of environments. This awareness creates a magical power in relationships and at work. In an argument, it's not the one who shouts who wins, but the one who speaks softly yet clearly, because people respond to the spirit, not the voice. And as your voice softens, people lower their defenses. This is the most elegant way for a woman to communicate heart to heart. You are now a woman who can manage her emotions and spread peace with her words. Eventually, you will understand. Elegance is not a posture, it is a frequency. Speaking softly does not make you seem small. On the contrary, it is a sign of your inner confidence. Because shouting is not courage, it is helplessness. Your voice is now like a refuge. It holds calmness, respect, and wisdom. And most importantly, that voice is no longer there to convince anyone, but only to preserve your own inner peace. 3. Not being afraid to look natural, glowing with energy rather than makeup. Once, when you looked in the mirror, all you saw was a face, an appearance, a shape, a frame. In your youth, you fought your flaws, hid blemishes, covered shadows. But one day you realized, beauty begins not with hiding, but with revealing. Now the lines on your face don't bother you, because each one is the signature of a memory, an experience. You owe your beauty not to makeup, but to the weight of having lived, and that weight makes you who you are. Naturalness takes courage, because the pressure to look flawless has been on you for years. But now you know that people are not fascinated by perfection, but by sincerity. A small line on your skin, the tiredness under your eyes, the slight wrinkles that appear when you smile. These don't make you flawed, they make you human. True beauty begins not in a mirror, but in the sincerity of a soul. And if that soul is peaceful, the face will shine naturally. Shining with energy is a deeper art than makeup. Because no matter what you put on, you can't make an unhappy face glow. But if your soul is calm, your eyes shine, your voice softens, your posture becomes graceful. As she ages, a woman understands that beauty is no longer about attracting attention, but about giving peace. When a woman accepts herself, her skin glows, her breathing lightens, and her presence gives confidence to those around her. Beauty is no longer a goal for you, but a side effect. Because the moment you start loving yourself, you begin to change. You used to want to look younger, now you want to feel better. And that's where the transformation begins. The mirror no longer criticizes you, it approves of you, because you no longer judge that woman either. You accept her in her entirety, with all her experiences. Naturalness is not just about appearance, it's also about your emotions. You no longer play a role. You no longer try to prove anything to anyone. You show what you feel. The masks fall away, replaced by a transparent clarity. That's exactly why people are drawn to you. Because in an age of artificiality, the most captivating thing is to be real. And one day you realize it's no longer your makeup that attracts attention, but your very being. You leave an impression without even speaking. Your smile brings people peace. Naturalness is now your adornment, your energy, your perfume. Because elegance is born when a woman is at peace with herself. You no longer hide, you share your light. 4. Creating your own style, following elegance rather than fashion. A woman realizes after a certain age, chasing fashion is actually chasing the approval of others. Trends that change every season, every shop window display, eventually tire a person, because no outfit can beautify a soul that has lost its way. A mature woman now knows, style begins not with clothing, but with posture. Elegance lies not in brands, but in energy. Finding your own style is a wisdom that has been filtered through the years, because you no longer know who you should be, but who you want to be. You carry your colors, your voice, your smile, even your silence in a language that is uniquely yours. Fashion comes and goes, but your attitude remains. And this attitude is like an elegant mark you leave on people's memories, simple but unforgettable. Elegance is not about attracting attention, but about leaving an impression. A mature woman no longer dresses to be seen, but to be felt. She carries herself without hiding her body, but without exaggeration, because she knows that elegance is not ostentation. It is a reflection of self-respect. Whatever she wears, she weaves her own energy into the fabric of that garment. That's why even a simple white shirt takes on character when she wears it. Having style is a form of silence, because a woman who truly knows herself does not shout to attract attention. She simply exists, and that existence speaks volumes. Elegance is noticeable even in its simplest form, like a flower with no scent but a lasting effect. That's why your style is no longer in your clothes, but hidden in your steps, your voice, your gaze. And if you're asking yourself, what is my style? Right now, you'll find the answer in the rest of this video. Because true style is an inner maturity that comes with age. It will remind you of yourself in every detail, making you say, "This is me," with every choice. 5. Smile kindly at yourself when you look in the mirror in the morning. There comes a moment in a woman's life when she tires of looking at the mirror as if it were an enemy. In her youth, she saw flaws. Now she sees the story. There are traces of years under those eyes, echoes of experiences in the lines of that face. But now she realizes that the woman in that reflection is not flawed. She is a woman who has survived, resisted, and grown. Smiling at yourself is the most elegant way to accept this truth. Smiling at the mirror in the morning seems like a simple gesture, but it is actually a decision. It is the courage to say, "Today, I will treat myself well." Because that woman who smiled for others for years finally acknowledges her own smile. The lines on her face are not a map of the past. They are a map of experience. That is why she now honors them instead of hiding them. This habit brings you back to yourself every morning. The reflection in the mirror no longer says, "I'm aging, but I'm growing." Because grace is not rejecting time, but making peace with it. Smiling in front of that mirror every morning is a way of saying, "I'm still here." It is a promise not to neglect yourself no matter what. Over time, you realize smiling at yourself is actually forgiving your past self. The mistakes of your youth, your impatience, your anger. You melt them all away with that smile, and you are liberated. That's why when you look in the mirror every morning, you embrace not only who you are today, but also who you used to be. This is the simplest yet most powerful form of inner peace. And finally, elegance begins not in outward appearance, but in the relationship you build with your own reflection. That morning smile is more lasting than makeup, more impressive than an expensive perfume. Because when a woman learns to smile at herself with kindness, she no longer needs anyone's approval. At that moment, she realizes that beauty truly comes from within. 6. Knowing your own worth without needing anyone's approval. A woman feels judged countless times throughout her life. To some, she's too strong, to others, too emotional, too quiet, too talkative. Everyone has an opinion, but your voice gets lost in the crowd. Over time, you realize what wears you down the most isn't their words, but internalizing those words. One day you say, "Enough," because your value isn't measured from the outside, it's remembered from within. Maturity is the ability to walk even when people don't applaud you. When a woman ties her self-worth to the opinions of others, she rises with every compliment, but falls with every criticism. But a woman who knows her own worth neither grows with applause nor shrinks with silence. She hears herself, believes in herself, and lives in her own inner balance. True freedom is not needing anyone's approval. Knowing your own worth is not arrogance, it is self-respect. Because you know what you have lived through, what you have endured, what battles you have fought. So you no longer need anyone to find you good enough. Over time you realize you are already good enough. You are not lacking, you just looked for fulfillment in the wrong places. Now is not the time for fulfillment, but for existence. A woman's value lies not in the loudness of her voice, but in the strength of her stance. A woman who knows her own worth doesn't prove herself to anyone. She simply speaks with her presence. She brings confidence and peace to every environment she enters, because she knows waiting for approval chains the soul, approving of oneself gives wings. It's time to break those chains. This awareness is also a turning point in relationships. You no longer change shape to be loved, nor remain silent to be liked. Those who don't understand you disappear, but those who see you remain. Because when a woman knows her own worth, everyone around her drops their mask. You now feel more clearly who you find peace with and who makes you feel small. And finally, you understand. When the search for approval ends, true elegance begins. Because elegance is not saying, "Notice me," but being able to say, "I am already aware." Knowing your own worth is keeping your head held high even on days when life doesn't applaud you. Your beauty is not hidden in what anyone thinks of you. It is hidden in how you treat yourself. 7. Befriend women who nourish your soul. Leave toxic environments behind. A woman's life is a mirror of the people around her. As you pay attention to who you spend time with, who you talk to, whose energy you carry, you realize some people lift you up, some slowly diminish you. When you're young, you try to please everyone, keep up with everyone, look good to everyone. But as you mature, you realize not everyone deserves to walk with you. Some friendships are just noise. They don't even compare to silence. Women who nourish your soul don't dim your light when they're with you. On the contrary, they make it shine even brighter. They don't compete, compare, or judge. They quietly support and listen wholeheartedly. Such women are like medicine that heals your heart. Talking to them is like therapy because they add value to you and accept you as you are. Even a coffee break spent with them takes away a week's worth of fatigue. Toxic environments are the exact opposite. They consume you, drain your energy, and disturb your peace. The more you distance yourself from people who constantly compare, belittle, and make you feel too much or not enough, the clearer your life becomes. That distance is not loneliness, it is protection. Sometimes the best decision is to quietly withdraw from a group, to stop writing a message. Because grace is a boundary drawn by distance, not by shouting. A mature woman knows depth matters now, not crowds. You don't need hundreds of acquaintances. 2 true friends are enough. Choosing people is not arrogance, it is self-respect. Any conversation that doesn't nourish your soul pollutes it. That's why you now pay attention to the content of conversations, the sincerity of smiles, the energy of sharing, because who you sit with is directly related to who you are. With this awareness, loneliness no longer frightens you. You used to get lost in crowds, now you find yourself in silence. True friendships are few but deep, like the meeting of souls vibrating at the same frequency. You now know anyone can be a friend, but not everyone can touch your heart. That's why being selective is not selfishness, but wisdom. And one day you realize a quiet but powerful circle has formed around you. A circle of women who nurture you, understand you, and don't judge you. There is no more drama, only balance. Because an elegant woman chooses the people with whom she shares her energy. And that choice is the most invisible but most effective part of her beauty. 8. Look to the future with curiosity, not fear. One of the most important things a woman learns as she ages is this: no future can be built on fear. For years you lived thinking, what if it doesn't happen? Now it's time to say, what if it does? Because fear freezes you, curiosity moves you. You know now, the future is not a threat, it is an invitation. Every new day is life calling you again. Silencing your fears doesn't happen overnight, but when you recognize them, they lose their power. Uncertainty no longer frightens you because you have already learned to survive. No matter what happened to you, you got back up somehow. That's why the future should no longer scare you, because you have weathered the storms of the past and are still standing. What lies ahead is just a journey, a calmer, more conscious journey. Curiosity is the fuel of inner youth. People don't stop being curious because they grow old. They grow old because they stop being curious. Learning something new, seeing a new place, meeting someone new. These things don't just create memories, they energize people. Curious women keep their spirits alive because they know that beauty lies in remaining open to new things. You now live with questions instead of fears. Instead of why me, you ask, what can I learn from this? You find meaning in every event, a message at every stop. This perspective both enlightens and rejuvenates you. Because you now focus on acceptance, not control. And this acceptance brings peace to your soul. The future is no longer a threat to you, but a playground. Every morning when you wake up, You remember that something new is still possible. Maybe a laugh, maybe a journey, maybe a change. Life still has surprises in store for you. You just have to be ready to see them, because fear closes your eyes, curiosity opens them, and if you're thinking, "I wonder what's in store for me next," that's where you start, because a woman who wonders never grows old. In the rest of this video, you'll see how approaching the future with this sense of wonder rejuvenates a woman's spirit. 9. Remembering your old passions, doing what once made you happy again. Life sometimes erases people slowly, without them noticing. Between daily responsibilities, other people's needs, and the hustle and bustle of life, you forget the things that once made your heart flutter. Yet that little spark is still there inside you, it's just covered in dust. You used to love painting, dancing, writing, listening to music and gardening, but over time you said, "It's not important." You put it off, you silenced it. Now is the time to call those passions back, because what makes you who you are has always been there. Passions determine the age of your soul, not your actual age. A woman truly ages when she forgets herself, but when she rediscovers those forgotten passions, her heart takes flight again, because passion is the breath of youth within a person. So don't be afraid to try things again. You don't have to explain yourself to anyone. Just say, "I love this," and do it, because those little joys are vitamins for your soul. Over time, you realize that passions are not an ornament, but a necessity. Just like water, like air, they connect you to life. When you pursue those passions, your inner energy changes. Your eyes sparkle, your voice softens, your face glows. People say something has changed in you, but they can't describe it, because that change comes from within, from the deep peace that comes from reconnecting with life. Remembering your past passions is not staying in the past. On the contrary, it is the most elegant way to make peace with the past, because each of those passions carries the purest essence of a period. To revive them is to revive that pure essence. Maybe you can't do it as long as you did back then. Maybe you've lost your skill. Maybe your hands aren't as fast. But it doesn't matter. What matters is that you still feel that fire inside you. When a woman starts to produce, create and feel again, she reconnects with life. She no longer needs the approval of others because she is preoccupied with her own existence. Returning to your passions is redefining yourself. It is finding meaning in life again, and that meaning brings back not youth, but vitality. And one morning you realize the things that used to excite you are still waiting for you. Those papers, those paints, those songs, those walking routes. They've just been waiting for you to come back. When you return, the woman in the mirror changes too. She is no longer tired. She is a woman who lives again. Because elegance is not about losing years. It is about not losing your passions. 10. Learning to say no elegantly, setting boundaries without feeling guilty. When a woman is young, she thinks saying no means she is unloving. But as she ages, she realizes, no, it is not unloving. It is self-respect. Every time she says okay, she becomes a little more exhausted. Every time she says never mind, she drifts a little further from her true self. But one day, she no longer recognizes herself in the mirror, and that's when she understands. Not setting boundaries makes a person invisible. An elegant no is the beginning of a woman's return to herself. Saying no is done with calm clarity, not by shouting, because a mature woman knows she can assert herself without raising her voice. She no longer seeks anyone's approval or tries to please anyone. She realizes that breaking herself every time to avoid breaking someone else silently wears down her spirit. And one day she decides She will no longer lose herself in order not to lose anyone else. Setting boundaries without feeling guilty is a kind of freedom, because for years you kept quiet, endured, and swallowed things so that others wouldn't be upset. Now it's your turn. Protecting your own peace of mind is no longer a priority, it is a right. When you say no, no matter what anyone says, a silence rises within you. That silence is not remorse, it is the peace of finally being able to hear yourself. Grace is being able to stop without breaking. It's not being a hard wall, but being able to draw a clear line. Being able to say, I understand you, but I can't get involved in this, is respect for both yourself and the other person. Because a graceful woman is polite, even when setting boundaries. But politeness is not weakness, it is discipline. Protecting your own space is defending your own spirit. A woman's beauty lies in her ability to protect herself without having to explain herself to anyone. Saying no doesn't make you selfish, it keeps you balanced. Because life is built not on constant yeses, but on wisely set boundaries. Every no opens a door to your inner peace, and one day you realize you've grown so strong that no one can manipulate you anymore. And that's when your yeses begin to gain value. Because now you say yes when you truly want to. Every word, every decision becomes more authentic. Your life fills with chosen people and chosen emotions. That is grace. Being able to protect yourself without resentment. You are now faithful to your own peace, not to others. 11. Treat your health with compassion. Don't criticize your body, look after it. When a woman is young, she always sees flaws in the mirror. Over time, she realizes that those flaws are actually the traces of life. That body carried you for years, through pain and joy, births, losses, and disappointments. It was always with you, but you rarely thanked it. Now is the time to stop criticizing and start caring, because that body is your most loyal friend. You should thank it, not belittle it. Health is not a guarantee of youth. It is the heart of life. You no longer measure your beauty by the mirror, but by your energy. Sleeping well, drinking water, walking, breathing. These are no longer luxuries, but debts you owe yourself. Because when a woman takes care of her body, she heals not only her health, but also her soul. When you devote a few minutes to it every morning, life silently thanks you. Approaching your body with understanding, not criticism, is the new definition of grace. You used to be angry at your belly, your lines, your cellulite. Now you know, they are like battle scars. Each one is a story of an experience, a transformation. That's why when you look in the mirror now, you say, thank goodness, instead of, I wish. Because living leaves marks, and those marks transform you into a woman who has lived. Approaching your health with compassion means giving up trying to constantly fix your body, listening to it instead of punishing it, loving it instead of forcing it. Because your body is not your enemy, it is your guide. It tells you when it is tired, when it is silent, when it needs something. You just have to learn to listen. True beauty begins with this listening. As you age, health no longer means looking fit, but feeling good. If your soul is balanced, your face glows. If your heart is peaceful, your skin comes alive. So look at your body not just with an aesthetic eye, but with gratitude. Because it is the only home that exists for you in this world. Instead of fighting it, befriend it. And one day, when you look in the mirror, you will realize your body no longer represents you, it serves you. Because as you show it compassion, it responds in kind. You become calmer, more balanced, more peaceful. At that moment, the meaning of beauty changes completely. For you, beauty is no longer perfection, it is harmony. And that harmony comes not with age, but with awareness. 12. being able to find beauty not only in crowds, but also in solitude. When you are young, silence seems frightening. Crowds, noise, constant busyness. The more things a person is surrounded by, the more they feel like they are living. But as you get older, you realize that crowds don't fulfill you, they just distract you. Real growth begins when you are alone, because silence is when a person begins to hear themselves. Loneliness is not a punishment, it is a mirror. It introduces you to who you are. In that mirror, you no longer see yourself through the eyes of others, but through your own eyes. You used to wait for applause from outside. Now you listen to the silence within. In that silence there is acceptance, there is peace, there is simple grace. You no longer fear being alone with yourself, because the real you lives within that solitude. A woman's beauty is hidden in how she stands alone. It is easy to shine amid noise. True elegance is being able to shine in silence. Going for a walk alone, drinking coffee by yourself, living the day without any plans. These are no longer a deficiency, but a privilege, because solitude is the art of savoring your own existence. Crowds sometimes make you invisible. When everyone's voices blend together, your own voice is lost. But in solitude, your voice becomes clear. Your thoughts become lucid. It is no longer external approval that matters, but inner peace. The more peaceful you are when alone, the more balanced you are. This awareness brings you both wisdom and simple beauty. A woman who can find beauty in solitude is not compelled by anything, not a lover, not a crowd, not applause. Her peace is within herself. That is why the presence of such a woman gives confidence to others, because she is not lacking, she is complete. And this feeling of completeness is reflected on her face, permeates her posture, and even adds nobility to her voice. And one day you realize, crowds are temporary, but your own silence is permanent. You are reborn in that silence. You are no longer dependent on the noise coming from outside, but on the tranquility within. Your beauty no longer needs to be noticed by others, because you already feel it. True elegance is being able to shine even in your solitude. A woman's beauty is not in her reflection in the mirror, but in what she has accumulated in her heart over the years. These 12 habits are not for fighting time, but for walking hand in hand with it. Because aging is not losing, it is deepening. Every line carries a memory, every silence carries wisdom, every glance carries grace. You no longer wear your youth, but your essence. And the moment you realize this, you become not just beautiful, but peaceful, authentic, and radiant. Don't forget to subscribe. I love you, and I want you to love yourself too.